Welcome to the Innovative Leader Podcast. We bring you relational leadership ideas to navigate a changing world. And now for your hosts, Christy Geiger and David Phillips. Hey everybody, welcome to Innovative Leader. Christy and I are back. And Christy, did you know that 3 months from today is Christmas Day?
It's right around the corner.
Isn't it? It's 9:25 as we're recording, and of course it's 12:25, and so it's 3 months until Christmas, which means that we're getting close to the beginning of the new year, and this is the year that I probably will stay up till midnight on December 31st, not to ring the new year in, but to kiss this year goodbye, just because of COVID and everything else that seems to happen, one thing a month in addition to that. So with that in mind, we want to talk about leveraging the next 90. This idea of taking the next 90 days and leveraging that time for the beginning of the new year. We're not talking about planning necessarily. We're not talking about preparing. We're talking about taking these 90 days and leveraging that time so that when January 1 kicks off, we're ready to go. That we have all the structures and everything in place to make 2021. God, that's hard to say. 2021 a great year. And so today we're going to talk about the what, the how, and the who. And so we're going to talk about that. And so Chrissy, give us your thoughts on why these next 90 days are so important for our listeners.
Yeah, great. So I think that, and it's not rocket science, but if our leaders want to just join us in reflecting, a lot of leaders have spent 2020 planning and adapting. And most leaders, I believe, have been working harder than they usually have, responding and sometimes reacting to the events of 2020 with COVID, this past summer, ups and downs with just, at least in the U.S., cultural things that have been going on that have created a lot of feelings for our teams, for us personally, for our families. Politically, we're in the U.S., we're in an election year, lots of emotion and volatility around that. So, the world has it too. When we go outside of the U.S., there's a lot of that volatility and just the instability as well, the uncertainty as well. But here in the U.S. especially, there's just been a lot of that. And so with our business owners and our leaders, I feel like it's easy to kind of get to this point of the year and you almost accidentally become in a survival mode. And to me, survival is a bad word. Not to make something good or bad, but survival is like a blinking red light word where it's like, wait a minute, because if you're in survival mode, that mode is kind of opposite of the mode that we like to be in. And that mode, the opposite of it is a prosperity mode. It's seeing what's possible. It's seeing potential. It's seeing opportunity. It's grabbing what's in front of us and leveraging it to move forward. And so when we have that, we are much more suited as leaders to lead forward versus when we're in survival. A lot of times we're in that reacting mode. We are actually sometimes just in this default mode based on the circumstances and the situations around us. And do you want to be defined by what's around you, or do you want to define what you're doing? And I think that's what we really have the opportunity for in this leveraging the next 90, because really here we are at the end of September. We're about to tip into Q4. We've got October, November, December, 2 months that tend to be pretty busy. People get a little erratic there at the end of November, December. Sometimes we close down the whole last week of the year, whatever. And so sometimes we try to coast into Q4. But this year, I would like to challenge leaders to go, you know what? Yes, it has been it's been a tough Q2, Q3. It has been. And don't coast into Q4. Q4 is an opportunity for us to look and go, listen, we know nothing's really settled with COVID. We know there's more turbulence in front of us with the different things going on. So do not wait for things to be calm and things to be normal or settled before you take charge of what can I do? What can I leverage in the next 90 days, not only to prepare me for 2021, but also to upgrade where I'm at right now? Because all of us have an opportunity to assess and to look back, look where we're at, and look at what do we need to equip ourselves as leaders to lead for 2021, for our team, for our businesses. What is it that you need to really level up in this Q4 in order to prepare to do what you're going to do in 2021? Don't wait, don't coast, but let's go ahead and assess that. Is kind of my thoughts. How do you see the end of the year?
Yeah, so a lot of times I would always take that week between Christmas and New Year and start planning for the new year. But at this point in time, we really have to extend that, I think, because we have planned, like you said, we've planned so much. We've tried to execute. We're having to readjust our plan. We're having to re-execute. It's just this cycle of plan and execute, plan and execute, plan and execute. And the uncertainty and the chaos of our world has created that structure. And at this point in the year, it really is time to start doing something. It is time to start just executing. Seth Godin talks often about sometimes you just got to ship. You got to ship your book. You got to ship your product. You got to do it. It doesn't matter necessarily what state it's in. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be the best thing. And ironically, that's really part of the agile framework. From a software development standpoint, you do it, then you do iterations to make it better. So I think there comes a point where there's this old saying in the South where, pee or get off the pot. You just got to start doing it, right? And so I think that's where we are. I think these last 90 days give us, or the last 90 days of this year, these next 90 days give us the ability to execute, to try, to explore, to test, and then so that when 2021 hit January, the ball falls on the end of the year, we're ready to go. And to not waste these next 90 days trying to continue to prepare, because you've been preparing all Q2, Q3. That's all you've been doing is preparing. We've got to get to the point where we just start doing. And I think that's huge. I think you're starting to see that within organizations, even big organizations. You start seeing that. I think athletics. In the last 2 weeks, this week alone, the Pac-12 has decided they're going to play a 7-game schedule. The MAC, the Mid-Atlantic Conference in football, has decided, you know what, we're going to start up. Big Ten, we're going to start up. And part of that is just pressure. It's obviously it's pressure from an athletic standpoint, and from a dollar standpoint. We have to start doing something to create revenue, to create momentum, Because if not, we're going to get in a cycle where all we're doing is complaining, and we're not generating, we're not creating, and we're not moving forward. We're just sitting in that rut. And the idea of a rut really is it's a grave that doesn't end. And so use this. I think we need to use these next 90 days, leverage them, test, begin to fill things out, to begin to prepare, not to prepare, but to begin to put things in place so that when the new year comes, we're ready to go.
Yeah, that's good.
And go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, part of getting those things together is really looking back. You have to look back to look forward, because where we are is a reflection of a default drift for many of us. We're here, and we don't know how we got here. We can throw out excuses. We can throw out, well, it's COVID, it's the job, it's this, it's the chaos, and all of that on some level is true, but it's how we react and how we respond to those that that get us to where we are. And too often we have habits and systems and processes in place that we don't even realize are in place, and so we're just running on autopilot and don't really know how we got to where we are. And so part of this process, I think, is we have to look back to look forward. And when we do that, maybe we can find patterns, maybe we can find things that have crept up in these past 2 quarters. Maybe it's been all year, maybe it's been all your life for that matter, that has gotten you to this point. We don't get overweight overnight. We don't have hair overnight. There are all these things that take time, and their habits and their processes, again, in most of them are just automatic. We don't even realize they're going on. And so I think the first thing we need to do is to look back, and by looking back, we can find those things that we need to change, we need to upgrade. It's personal, maybe it's on the business side, maybe it's how we deal with our customers, maybe it's distribution or marketing or whatever it is. But look back and then to uncover and discover things, 1 or 2 things, because if you start changing everything, then you'll get nothing changed. I'm pretty convinced of that you have to start with 1 or 2 things at a time and then build on top of those. But habit stacking, James Clear talks about that, is kind of a process of habit producing. But then for those things we need to change, and then when we figure those out, then we can start making moves. Your thoughts on that, Christy?
Yeah, I like the concept of looking back to look forward, and it makes me think about what are the questions that we ask. So if we look back to look forward, some of those questions might be, what patterns have developed in the last 6 to 9 months? Or what patterns am I seeing or noticing? What isn't working right now? Maybe something was working and it's not working anymore. So we're looking to say, okay, what isn't working that was working? Or maybe we're looking to say, what is working? Maybe there's things that wasn't working that now is working. Common, and I know we've talked about it before too, is just this whole work at home concept. For some people, the work at home concept really isn't working well, and they're waiting to get back to the office, or they're really thankful they've been able to get back to the office. For other people, working at home has really leveled up their performance, and it has really taken them to a new level of life balance. Other people, it's taken them to a new level of not life balance. So the exact same activity of working at home for other people has been an upgrade, for other people has been a downgrade. And that's not the person, it's depending on your situation and circumstance and your job. So looking at what isn't working that was, what is now working that wasn't, Also, I think to that point, like what is the default drift? Have I drifted someplace? When you think back and you revisit, usually we revisit our goals at the end of the year, but because of this year in particular, it is a great time to go back to those goals that you set in December or January and say, what were my intentions and my goals for this year, and where am I at? Because we maybe had set them here and now we're all the way over here. So there is still time in one quarter to recalibrate. And while maybe that vision or the objective that we had isn't fully there, there's still time to recalibrate. So if we can go back and we can look and go, oh, okay, so we want it to be there. What can I accomplish in 90 days? What piece of that can I accomplish? Yep. And it may be something from your original goals. It may be something like you were saying with the patterns or assessing kind of present state, that then we pick what we're working on. I don't, what questions come to your mind as you think about, what are the questions that you ask yourself when you're looking back, when you're assessing what is going to make the greatest difference?
Yeah. So one of the things, I think one of the biggest questions that I try to ask is, what am I, so take a week, a snapshot in your life, and write down everything that you do, and then take a pause and go, did I even realize I was doing any of this? I think so often it's that drift, it's that default, it's that automatic pilot that we're living on. What am I doing that I don't even know I'm doing? And if you can start looking at that, you can start finding patterns, maybe even of destructive behavior, healthiness, the way you communicate, the way you interact with your staff or your team. So just take a snapshot of a week or 2 weeks of your life and ask, did I know I was doing any of this, or was it just all habit? And not that habit is bad, but because if it's a good thing, then you can evaluate that and be, you know what, this is what I do. This is good. If it's a bad thing, though, then we have to start being intentional. We have to start being mindful of everything that we do. And I think just writing those down is huge. Laura Vanderkamp wrote a book, it's been 10 years ago, called 168 Hours. And it's not a time management book, but it's a book on uncovering what's going on in your life, what you're doing, and then how you can be more efficient and how you can get things done with the hours that you don't even realize you're wasting. How to leverage the time that you have every week to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And so one of the things she does is she talks about, making sure you write down everything that you do during the week and kind of do this schedule for a week and then find the hidden time or find the wasted time or the time where you're not doing anything, and leverage that to write a book or to, read or to whatever you need, whatever your goals are. And really all you're doing is understanding where you are at that snapshot in time. And you're being mindful of everything you do. And too often, like I say, we don't have any idea what we're doing, because it's just we're running on autopilot. So that, to me, I always kind of go back to that book, and it's something that I try to look at during this last quarter of the year, to try to give me perspective on who I am and what I do. So I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's great. I think that it's an interesting thing to think through a week and what you're actually doing. So another tool I think that could be used too, usually at the end of the year, I'll use the Wheel of Life, which is a very common development tool. It has the 8 slices of pie of work, money or finances, usually personal growth, fitness, things like that, your health. But I wonder if you could almost take that same wheel, take your circle, divide it into 8 pieces, and then as you're asking yourself these questions and you're looking at, uncover what you're doing, where that time is, and at least stretch yourself to find 8 different areas that could potentially be upgraded, or 8 different areas that could be considered as you're like, okay, well, this pattern, I've gotten kind of lazy at night, or wow, my wine intake has really increased, or my exercise has really increased, and that's good. And I think actually I could take it to the next level with this. It could be positive things, negative things, whatever, but to take 8, and then always with the wheel, we usually look at the wheel and we go, which one of those areas, if you pick that one area and you really pressed it, would make the largest difference even for the other areas. And so in the same way, you could do this inventory of yourself as a personal, for your personal growth. You could do the inventory for business, whatever, put all those on the wheel, and then pick that one area. If you focus on that, which one is going to make the greatest difference? And then that's your zone to dig into for the next 90 days. So now we have that area. So let's say we identified something that we feel like is really going to upgrade us, and we're ready to prepare ourselves. So then what would be next?
Yeah, so you put a plan together, right? So we create a how. How are we going to attack this particular area, these 1 or 2 areas, and what are we going to put in place in this next 90 days so that when the new year starts, and really, you know, the brain likes starts. It likes seasons of starts. New Year's, one of the reasons that people do New Year's resolutions and things like that is because it's new. So Daniel Pink has called when, and when is important. When you start is as important as what you do in many cases. Don't start a diet in the middle on Wednesday unless it's the first day of the month, because it's just, that becomes random, and there's, but the brain really does like things like first of the month, first of the year, you know, quarters. It likes everything. It likes like a firm start date. It likes the Memorial Day to Labor Day period. It likes those divisions. And so develop a plan and start it. Develop a plan so that when the first of the year comes, you already have these things in place. You have the books purchased. You have the routine set in place. You have the framework in place that you've reached out, and you've contacted resources to help you launch, to help you achieve those goals. You've got everything in place. So develop a how, and intrinsic within that is so that when the win comes, you're ready to go. So that's that second point, to create a plan to get going and to start moving.
I like that with the start, and I agree. I think that's very true, that we're more motivated when we do have that start point. I think another thing in creating the plan is really to write that SMART goal. And obviously that's been around for a long time with SMART goals, but it sticks because it matters. So when we actually, going back to what you were saying earlier, we're writing down that goal, Brian Tracy talks a lot about, and I think other people have too, is writing it in that formula where you put the emotion in it. I feel so excited, or I'm so proud, or I'm so relieved, or whatever that is, that we're writing some kind of an emotion of how we will feel. We know, and again, in that whole neuropsychology, that taps our limbic system and emotional things we remember. And so if we can attach some emotional visual picture, we'll remember that more. And then writing that goal as if it's complete is another trick or tip in how we're writing our goals. So instead of I will lose 50 pounds, it's I'm so proud I now weigh whatever it is, you know, your target. so that you're writing that goal as if it's done with measurable items in it. And then also the last tip in a SMART goal is writing, why does it matter? Simon Sinek talks a lot with his start with why. You know, again, we're all familiar with that, but it's like, don't remember to include that why. Why am I doing this? Why does this matter? What is this going to do for me? And again, like we were saying earlier, this isn't just about preparing for 2021. This is about activity and readiness so that when 2021 comes, we're ready for the race. We've been training, right. We're equipped and prepared because we've done the work in order to run a great race in 2021. So what are we doing? What do we need to do right now that is going to equip and prepare? And you know, some people, businesses right now, maybe your culture is kind of ripping apart at the seams. This has been tough on teams. So maybe it's addressing culture. Maybe it's something in your own leadership. Whatever it is. And I know we're in the season of updating budgets and things like that. There's plenty of things that leaders have on their plate. And at the same time, think about what is it that's going to make a difference, and then go ahead and write that down, create that start date. We're proposing really the October, November, December, with essentially 3 months each has a milestone, so that we've got this time period of 90 days. But really, you've got 3 milestones that you get to put in there, because there's the right. first, second, and third 30-day increments, which allow us to get progress and momentum, which is huge. Write that goal down, keep it in front of you, have that timeline so that you kind of understand how quickly do I need to move. Really, the next 90 days are going to go way faster than what we think, because there's kind of the U.S. holidays that we're used to celebrating here. So Thanksgiving, things like that. There's a couple hiccups in there that we need to really toe that line in order to keep moving. So
exactly.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say exactly, and we're going to go to the who in a minute. You could actually, you know, over the next 3 months, you could actually take each one of these steps and do a month at a time if that helps you. That maybe you need 30 days to kind of uncover, look back to look forward. Maybe you need 30 days to develop that plan. Maybe you need 30 days to talk about the who that we're going to talk about in a minute. But even doing something is better than preparing, because we can sit around and prepare for 3 months and not get anything done. Right. Yeah. So
even in the midst of the unknown, there's things to do right now.
Exactly. So the last thing we were going to talk about is the who, and that is to find those people who can come around you to help you achieve what your plan is. Number one, we can't do it on our own. There is no way. In the midst of chaos and in the midst of life, we cannot do this on our own. So whether it's a spouse, whether it's a colleague, whether it's a coach, a trainer, somebody who owns another business in another domain, whatever it is, find someone that can come around you and help you achieve what you're trying to achieve. And so that becomes the who. People call it accountability partners. They call it coaches, trainers, whatever it is. Find that person to come around you and help you do that. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. When I think about accountability, I always like to think about a teepee, and that if you just have one stick and that's your only accountability, like I'm deciding I'm going to do it, and that's all, it's pretty loose, versus a teepee really holds together because you've got like 10 sticks all intertwined and intersupporting.
Right.
And that creates a stronger accountability, a stronger framework to ensure that it stays strong, versus easily being able to get tipped over. So to me, kind of dovetailing a little bit on the how, you created that timeline with milestones, sometimes we create those on documents and then they're in your computer. What is in your computer, typically your mind will forget as other things come more present in your mind. So print that out, hang that on your wall, change it as your screensaver, put it in the front of your paper calendar if you're using a paper calendar, whatever it is, somehow take that timeline and make that visual. That is a type of non-human accountability that just keeps it in front of you. Another non-human accountability is going and putting it into your calendar with reminders. So don't let yourself be surprised when it's the end of the month. 5 days before the end of the month, or on the end every Friday, here's my plan for this month. Where am I at? The next Friday, where's my plan for the month? Where am I at? So every Friday you have a pop-up triggering your mind to revisit, okay, am I on track or I'm not on track? Or on, the 28th, it pops up. You've got 2 days left. What do you have to finish yet this month? That's creating your own accountability. So a calendar with reminders can be that. And then to your point about human accountability, sometimes that's collaborating with our team and sharing this goal with the team, having them create their own goals and making that more of an organizational thing can be very powerful and keep you as a leader especially accountable when you're challenging your team. We always say that we do better when we teach content versus just learn it. As a leader, when you implement this accountability with your team, you are much more likely to do it yourself versus just an idea that's between you and us and your computer. So if you're also passing this down to your team, you're more likely to do it. Grant Cardone is doing a free 10X group on Facebook that's starting. So there's even, Facebook groups that you can go find. Dave Ramsey has the groups with Entre Leadership, things like that. Like, use a network, even if you don't have a team specifically that you're able to share this with. Maybe you're in the middle of budgets and this would just be distracting. Fine. What group can you use? Or like you said too, if you have a coach, whatever, that's great. But, sometimes using a social media group or a mastermind group can be incredibly effective to keep you and those around you moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just think that for most of us, we can't do it on our own, and we really need help in those processes. Help sticking to those tasks, those kinds of things. And it's I think it's important that we have someone we can go to and work through those things with. And plus they can provide resources, ideas that maybe can take your plan and make it 10x, to borrow Grant's concept. And so I think you need that who. So it's the what, it's the how, and the who, and take all of that together and figure out how to leverage the next 90 days so that when January 1st hits, you're rocking and rolling. You're already. You're not having to do a startup. You're already in process. You're already launching. You're already engaged. You're already moving forward. Anything else, Christy?
No, I think it's good. And just an invitation to leaders, as you've been listening to this, maybe there's some ideas that you've had, some questions that you've asked yourself that you'd like to share with other leaders. Put those in the comments. It's really helpful as leaders help leaders. Maybe there's some ideas of things that you thought of that we didn't really mention that you think deserves an inventory or reflection. Put that in the comments. Or maybe there's something else that stood out to you, or a strategy that really helps you to plan, or a tool that really helps you to plan, or a structure that really holds you accountable. As leaders share with other leaders, it makes us all better. So we do want to hear from you and what's working for you. So post those in the comments, and we'd love to hear what you're doing.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, and give us a rating as long as it's good. And that'll help us be seen more. And we look forward to bringing you more content, and look forward to coming to you again.
Sounds good. All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.